Hello, friends of Evil Level Sudoku Puzzles by websudoku.com. As usual, I have transferred the grid over to webexchange.com because I prefer that interface. This grid has a lot of givens, and a full disclaimer, I solved this already, but I also didn't find it very easy. So I want to share with you how I eventually solved it. I know that there are probably quite a few different ways of solving this puzzle, but the way that I usually think didn't make it too easy for me. So this is how I went about it. And I'm just quoting from memory because I didn't make any notes at all. But I kind of remember where the difficult spots were in this puzzle. What I always start doing is just get a general impression of the puzzle. For example, the 8 here will force an 8 into one of these cells, and this 1 will force a 1 here. And looking at this 5 and this 5, the 5 here, of course, is a given, so I'll just enter that quickly while I continue to study the puzzle to get a general idea of what it's going to be like. The 9 here will force a 9 into one of these cells here, and the 6 here will put a 6 here or here. And as I'm mentioning this to myself, I'm looking at the 6 here, and now I know that one of these two cells will have to be a 6. Not this one, of course, because of the 6 here. I'm also aware of this line here, and the 6 here now will force a 6 into one of these two cells, and this 1 will force a 1 into one of these three cells. The 4 here puts a 4 here or here. And actually, it cannot go here because this 4 blocks this cell and this 4 blocks this cell. So a 4 will have to go in one of these two cells here, and therefore it can't go here, and therefore this cell must be a 4. Now, one of these two cells must be a 4 because of these two 4s here and the 4 in the bottom row. Besides the 4, the other digit that needs to go in one of these two cells is going to be an 8 because this 8 blocks these two cells. So one of these will have to be an 8. And that leaves a 1 and a 3 for these two cells, doesn't it? And there's a 1 already in this column that makes this a 3 and this a 1. The next observation concerns these two cells here, and they have to be a 5 and a 3 because we already have a 5 and a 3 combination in these two rows here, and we need to find a 5 and a 3 for row 9. Since a 5 and a 3 blocks a 5 and a 3 here, and there are no more empty cells in this block, then and we have a 5 and a 3 here, then these two cells need to be a 5 and a 3. And that makes this cell and this cell and this cell a 6, 7, and an 8, except this one cannot be a 6, because as we've already discussed, one of these two cells must be a 6 due to the 6 in the bottom row here blocking these two cells. And given this 6 here and this 6 here blocking these cells, one of these two cells must be a 6. And we've got the 6 here blocking these two cells and this 6 blocking these two cells. So these two cells also have to be a 6. So a ghost 6 here and this 6 puts a 6 in this cell or in this cell. And a 6 here and a ghost 6 here and here puts a 6 in one of these two cells. And a ghost 6 here and this 6 here puts a 6 in one of these two cells. And now I'm looking at this row here. It needs to have a 2, 6, and a 9. And we know where they have to go because we have a 2 and a 9 here. So these two cells will have to be a 2 and a 9, making this a 6. And that makes this a 6. So these two cells being a 2 and a 9, making this a 1 and a 3. The 8 here, as mentioned earlier, puts an 8 in one of these two cells. This 8 and this 8 forces an 8 now to go into this cell because this cell cannot contain an 8 due to the ghost 8 up here. So this is an 8. And now I want to get back to the 5 and the 3 that I found here. The other 3 digits, as we recall, have to be a 6, 7, and an 8. This cell now can't be an 8 because of this 8. And this cell cannot be an 8 because of this 8. Therefore, this must be an 8. And this is now a 6, making this a 7. Down here now we have a 7 and a 9. This 7 puts a 7 here and a 9 here. We have a 6 for this row and we have a 6 for row 9. We need to find a 6 for this row 7. Because of this 6, it cannot go in any of these cells. And because of this 6 and this 6, it can't go here either. And that leaves only one cell where the 6 can go, and that's here. Now I can find a 9, and the 9 will have to go here because these two cells have to be a 4 and an 8. We know that one of these two will have to be a 9, therefore this one cannot be a 9. This one cannot be a 9 either because of the 9 already present in this column. So this is a 9. And now with this 9 here and the 9 here and the 9 here, the 9 must go here. Now we have this 3 blocking this cell. Therefore, one of these must be a 3. And we've got these 7s making these two also a possible 7. So we've got a 7 and a 3 pair here. That means that this must be a 1. And here we had a 1, 3, remember? So this is now a 1 and this is a 3. Admittedly, this is about where I got stuck a little when I solved it earlier, until I realized that this is a 7 and a 3 possibility, and so is this. 1, 2, 3 yes, 4, 5 no, 6 no, 7 yes, 8, 9 no. So 7, 3 and 7, 3, and that leaves me to find a 1, 2 and an 8 for this cell and this cell and this cell. And then I started listening to what I keep telling everyone else to do. Look at intersections where a lot of different digits meet. So this quite empty box 3 has a 6 as a single here because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 can go here, yes, but not a 7 and not a 9 and not an 8 because this 8 forces an 8 to go in one of these cells. So this must be a 6. And that puts a 6 in this cell. And I believe we have all the 6s now. And these two are a 4 or an 8. We still need to find a 1 for one of these two cells then. Now I look at this column here. We need to find a 2, 3, 5, 7 and a 9. 3, 5, 7, that is a 2 or a 9. And as we recall, those two here are also 2 and a 9. So these two have to be a 2 or a 9, leaving us the task to find a 3, 5, and a 7 for this cell, and this cell. And there's a 3 and a 5 in this row already, so this must be a 7. And this 7 and this 7 puts a 7 up here, doesn't it? And these two 7s now force 7 into this cell, and therefore into this cell, making this a 3 and this a 3. Remember, this was a 3 or a 7, right? This must be a 1 because of the 1 up here. And the last cell here is going to be a 2. This 2 and this 2 puts a 2 up here, and this last digit must be an 8. This 8 and this 8 puts an 8 here. This cell here now must be a 1, and that makes this a 1 as well. These three cells now have to be a 4, 5, and a 7. There's a 5 and a 7 here. That makes this a 4. There's a 7 here, making this a 5, and this therefore a 7. This 4 and this 4 and the 4 up here forces a 4 into this cell. This last digit has got to be a 5, and this now must be a 3. These two to be a 2 and a 9. These are still a 4 and an 8, very persistent. These are still a 5 and a 3. These are 2, 4 and a 9. There's a 4 here, so one of these will have to be a 4. And we know that this is a 2 or a 9, this is a 2 or a 9. Well, if these are 2 and a 9, that leaves only this cell here, and that must be a 5, of course. Why didn't I spot that? And the 5 here and here and here puts a 5 up here, like so. This is therefore a 3 now, making this a 3. And this must now be a 9. And therefore, this is a 9 and this is a 9. This must be a 2, as must this one, and this has got to be a 9 as well. Still can't resolve the 4 and an 8. What's happening here? Well, we got a 1 here blocking these two cells, and the 1 here blocking these two cells, making this a 1. And this now must be a 4 or an 8. There's an 8 in this row, so therefore this must be a 4. And finally, we can resolve the 4 and an 8 we had here. This is now an 8, and the last digit here is going to be a 2. I admit that solving it the second time wasn't as difficult. I don't know, sometimes you come across a puzzle that just seems very stubborn, doesn't want to be solved. And I really struggled with this one the first time, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. But now that I solved it again, it doesn't seem so hard at all. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll be back for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.